straight through.
Well, we're 5 after 1, but we're getting started. I will now call to order the May 4th, 2017 regular meeting of the City Council of Rancho Mirage, the Library Board, Housing Authority Board, and the City Council representing the Redevelopment Successor Agency. We are now in session. And for the flag salute, Mr. Richard Kite, would you do us the honor?
Thank you. I'd love to. Would you please stand and for the flag salute? Would you follow me, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay. Christy, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Hobart. Councilmember Smotrich. Here. Councilmember Weil.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Kite.
Here.
And Mayor Townsend.
Here. There is a motion to excuse Councilmember Hobart from the meeting.
So
is there a
moved.
second?
Yes,
So
second.
Very good. Thank you. Please vote.
Mayor Townsend, could you please enter your vote?
That would be good, wouldn't it? There it is. This is my first, so you got to be kind.
Mr. Mayor, motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. I would also like to advise the audience that the City Attorney Steve Quintanilla is participating in the meeting via telephone.
Yes, I am here. I am attending the annual City Attorney's Conference in San Francisco, and so I am available to answer any questions.
Well, you're loud and clear, so that is wonderful.
Great, then I can sing the national anthem, too.
He's never looked better.
Steve, are you sitting by the dock at the bay?
I wish I was. I hope I'm not on Skype.
No.
No, I'm taking a break from my conference right now, and so I am back in my hotel room. It's nice and quiet.
Well, we're happy to have you this way, too. Any way we can get you, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, now we will move on to the non-agenda public comments. And this is an opportunity for the public to speak on issues that are not on the agenda for a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. So I believe we have some people who want to speak. And the first person is Virginia Nelson. Come forward, Virginia. I know you. Hi, kid. Hi,
Good afternoon, Mayor Townsend
Good afternoon to you.
and City Council. I am here to give you your regular Chamber of Commerce update today.
Would you give your name and where you live?
Virginia Nelson. I do business here in Rancho Mirage at Farmers Insurance, and I am a board member on the Chamber of Commerce. I've been for several years. I'm the secretary also in the executive
Very
committee.
good, thank you.
So for a brief update on the Chamber of Commerce, you would think that this is the time of year where things start to slow down at the end of the season, and that is actually not the case with us. Things are quite busy. Just to give you an idea, next week on May 9th, the Chamber staff and some of the board directors will be participating in the annual Oasis Awards event that's presented by the CVB. And we're proud to tell you that our sales and marketing associate, Chelsea Edwards, is nominated for an award at that event for the recognition of excellence for frontline staff. Then on Friday, May 12th, is the All Valley Legislative Luncheon at Fantasy Springs Casino. The Rancho Mirage Chamber is a presenting partner of that event, so we hope to see some of you there. And of course, on Monday, May 15th, is our 12th annual Desert Nurses Appreciation Luncheon at Omni Rancho Las Palmas Resort. That event is from 11:30 to 1 o'clock. We're really happy that we've got a lot more participation in this event than we've had before. We do have a presenting sponsor now in Emerald Wealth Management. Other sponsors are, of course, the City of Rancho Mirage, so we thank you for that, Eisenhower Medical Center and Desert Regional Medical Center. This year you will see a newly designed program because we have offered the purchase of ads within the program to support the event and some of the scholarships. Attendees at this event will now, all attendees will receive a gift bag of goodies from the members, similar to what we did at the Rammy Awards. One of our main awards is the Humanitarian Award. This year is going to first responders, and that will be accepted by Cal Fire Chief John Hawkins. We have a new award this year called the Inspiration Award, and that will be presented to the Coachella Valley Volunteers in Medicine, and that will be accepted by Dr. Ron Hare. Registration is going really well for this event, and actually this past Monday, in case you missed it, 2 of our board members did an appearance on Eye on the Desert with Patrick Evans to talk about the event, promote the event. That was Ken Wheat and Jack Srebnick. Then coming up on Wednesday, the 17th of May, is the 3rd annual Joint Chamber Mixer at the Palm Springs Air Museum from 5 to 7. We expect to see about 500 people at that event. Along with our regular raffle prizes, we will be offering a chance to win a 30-minute flight that evening. And just announced yesterday, as a matter of fact, we will have a bonus mixer on May 23rd, hosted by Desert European Motors. We're still working on details of that, which showroom that will be at, so there will be email blasts and social media updates that will go out on that. Other than that, the Rancho Mirage Chamber continues to grow. We added 9 more new members in the month of April. And beyond that, our membership is really becoming much more engaged. We've got a lot of the general membership that is now participating in committees and subcommittees, adding to our list of ambassadors, so everybody's quite engaged in that. And as always, your Chamber of Commerce extends our gratitude and our respect to the city and the staff for all of our partnership and the support that we get from you. Other than that, we're just loving life, and then 902-922-70.
That is a great lineup. It should all be I'm impressed.
Thank you
very
very
impressed.
much. Any
now,
questions?
if I put you on the spot, do you know the telephone number of the chamber so people can call?
760-568-9351.
Look at you.
I used to do the commercials for that, so I remembered it, yeah.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you for doing
Any other
that.
questions?
Ready? Nope, that's good.
Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you. Our next speaker will be Nan Davis.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, Nan.
I'm Nan Davis. I'm a teacher at Palm Desert Charter Middle School, and I'm here with 3 of our 8th grade students to present a thank you for funding or helping to fund our Museum of Tolerance trip. And so I'm going to let them take it away.
Good afternoon. My name is Ivy Toe, and this is Charlotte Baija and Fiona Andersons. We are here on behalf of the 8th grade class of PDCMS to thank you for contributing funds to make this trip possible.
We are grateful to have had the opportunity to listen to the unheard voices of those who suffered the Holocaust. By attending the Museum of Tolerance, I was able to get a deeper and better understanding of the Holocaust, but also on hate in general. We were taught how just one person spreading hate can cause a domino effect on all those surrounding.
Not only was this trip beneficial, but also unforgettable. Thank you again, City Council and Councilman Schmatrick, for your support in our school and community. The awareness of the event will stay with us always. We have prepared a short video to express our gratitude.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate that.
The Museum of Tolerance taught me to have and show more respect towards the events that took place during the Holocaust, and it opened my eyes to the tragedies and horrors that occurred.
The Museum of Tolerance was a life-changing experience for me. I learned more about the Holocaust than I already knew. One exhibit that I found most empowering was the gas chamber and watching video clips of people who experienced the horror. We listened to people tell their stories about the Holocaust, which was heartfelt. Thank you for your generous donation, which let us experience this life-changing trip.
I think it's just an amazing way to learn about the mistakes of our past and how to not make the same mistakes in the future.
your generous donation to PDCMS. Because of your donation, our 8th grade class was able to visit the Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles. It was an educational experience, and we learned a lot of things through film clips and exhibits about racism and the cruel acts of the Nazis. One of the highlights of the trip was getting to meet a Holocaust survivor. We heard a story about surviving in Auschwitz, and it was fascinating. It was also very tragic to hear how his family died. Thank you for letting us experience this trip.
The Museum of Tolerance had a personal impact on me. Seeing the tunnels that they put the prisoners through, labeling them as women and children and able-bodied, was very powerful. The museum really showed me how little freedom people had over their fate.
I personally believe it's a great thing to go to the Museum of Tolerance every year because it's not only a great learning experience about what people went through back in the Holocaust, but it's also a great learning experience about how we can change what happens and how that just if we don't do anything, it might happen again.
Very good. Thank you very much for all the work that you guys do keeping this forward, because it's a great part of history that should never die. We should always be aware of it. Thank you.
Mr.
Next.
Mayor, if
Yes.
I might make
Yes, you
one
may.
comment, because I'm so thrilled that we were able to participate in funding these wonderfully gifted children from all walks of our valley so that they could experience something that was probably one of the most tragic times in our world's history. And as you so eloquently put it in your film, hope lives when we remember. So that's where the quote comes from also. We will never forget and never again. So thank you again for going and bringing back all your impressions and the effect it had on your lives. Thank you.
And thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We really appreciate it. Just so you know, there was over 450 students that were able to go to your funding. We really appreciate that. And did you have any other questions for myself or for the students today?
And then I can think of, it was a great job you did. It's a wonderful experience to have seen that, really. It must have really been heartwarming, to say the least. Really.
Well, thank you
very
again. We really
much.
appreciate your support.
I'm glad we
Thanks.
could do that.
Great. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Mr. Michael Harrington.
So I have an announcement that I want to make. On May 17th at the Rancho Mirage Library at
Please state your
6
name and where
p.m.
you live,
Okay,
please.
so my name is Michael Harrington. I'm a resident of Rancho Mirage, and down here in the Tamarisk area down the street is my neighborhood. And so there's a meeting concerning questions about public safety that will take place May 17th at the Rancho Mirage Library, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Again, that's Wednesday, May 17th, the Rancho Mirage Library Community Room. And we'll have the Rancho Mirage Police Department, which is, of course, our contract sheriff's officer, Cody Mix, will attend to answer questions, give out information. Some people asked about how to form neighborhood watches in their neighborhood or community. And so I encourage everyone to attend. It's a large meeting room. And if people want to call me, I can give you my phone number, but I mean, we know where it is. Well, okay. My phone number is 760-347-4445. And if anyone has any questions, it's a community-driven event, and the police, really appreciate the police taking the time to show up and answer questions. So again, May 17th, 6 p.m., Rancho Mirage Library. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington. Next speaker is Lewis Stewart.
Honorable Mayor, distinguished council members, hardworking staff. As a visitor from another city, Lou Stewart, by the way, Palm Springs. As a visitor from another city, I just want to say that we view with some envy the wise fiscal stewardship that Rancho Mirage has shown on spending, public works, and the CV Link. I also commend you in your assertion of autonomy at the Executive Board of CVAG. In the original GPA for CVAG, it is not the mission, nor is it their authority granted for CVAG to question the administration of public funds in any member city. It is not the privilege of CVAG to burden a member city with liability for the poor business decisions of another member city. It is not the mission of CVAG to fiscally threaten a member city when they differ on certain projects. CVAG is overstepping its authority on issue after issue and challenging the autonomy of its members. Perhaps it is time for CVAG to return to its original mission and advise member cities on grants and legislation, such as SB 54, the immigration bill going through the Senate right now. And perhaps it's time to study the limits of CVAG's authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Our next speaker will be Francis Miller. Is Francis here? There you are.
Hello, my name is Frances Miller, and I live down the street on Deval. I was here before, and I showed you this picture, and now I just want to say, I want to repeat what Ms. Smokrick said about hope lives when we never forget. And last time I was here, I told you about my father coming to this country and about the lady in the New York harbor who greeted her, saying, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." Well, I think that still applies today, and I think that we have an obligation to our neighbors who live with us and who work with us, work in the area. I think we need to be a sanctuary city. I think that's what I would be proud to say about the city that I live in. Now, when I was here last time, I was, I don't know if I told you about this man, I'll call him Victor. Oh, V, I was going to say. He went to Adelante. He had been there for 5 weeks, and there was a trial. Father Lincoln went with us. We were about 15 people, and 10 people went into the trial on April 11th. They were held from 1 o'clock to 4:30, got to the judge, and the lawyer from Indio forgot to bring the papers to show that he had a clean record. So Father Lincoln was there, and his 5 children going from age 3 to 15. And when they didn't have the papers, the judge says, "Okay, you come back in June." Then he looked at the family, he said, "No, come back in May." And then he looked again and he said, okay, come back next week. So I'm happy to say that the gentleman did go home to his family. The trial was very, very difficult because the kids hadn't seen him for 5 weeks, and he was very ill and very thin, and they weren't allowed to touch him. So they were crying and everything when they came out, and I took them to McDonald's, and they had one more trying week, and then their father came home to them. So I'm asking you to please help to make this a sanctuary city. We need to do that. That's what's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. I appreciate that. Our next speaker will be Bob Mueller.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for the opportunity of speaking. My name is Bob Mueller. I'm a resident of Rancho Mirage. We were here about a month ago with about a dozen representatives. We have almost 10 here today. We're not all going to speak, don't worry, but I would like them to stand just so that you recognize that they're here. And we're here about, thank you very much, we're here about sanctuary city status. One of our members Actually, the last time we had about a dozen people. These are almost 10 here today, but they're completely different faces. So actually, we have someday we'll show up with 20 or more. One of our members, Richard Loftus, a doctor at Eisenhower Medical Center, authored a letter, and so in lieu of my own comments, he has kindly asked that I read this letter to the council. It may go slightly more than 3 minutes, but it won't be very much further. To Mayor Townsend and the Rancho Mirage City Council, as I am seeing patients today, I have asked my friends who are coming to the City Council meeting to read my remarks on my behalf. I moved from the Valley to the Valley in 2010 to help create the internal medicine residency at Eisenhower Medical Center. I continue as an associate program director of that program, as well as principal investigator for AIDS research and a small business I founded near Desert Regional. I've been a resident of Rancho Mirage since 2012. As a lifelong human rights resident and AIDS activist, I write to request that Rancho Mirage City Council adopt the very common sense law enforcement policies outlined in the ACLU Freedom Cities campaign. As you know, Palm Springs adopted these policies recently to widespread community acclaim. Palm Springs' own police chief, Brian Reyes, said the new ordinance falls right in line with what we have in policy and what we have had since 1981 in regards to not profiling. The political changes that have erupted in our country in the last 6 months have provoked fear in many of my patients and mentees. Many of my own Eisenhower medical residents who may have even treated some of you council members and have certainly saved the lives of many Rancho Mirage citizens come from majority Muslim countries on the proposed travel ban list. My research colleague attends the local mosque that was firebombed in our own valley in 2015. One of my pre-medical students is a dreamer kid who cannot focus on his medical studies due to fear that he will be deported by ICE agents to a country that is not his home, a fear well-founded, as 50% of many of recent deportations have been of people with no criminal record, including DACA-registered college students. When I congratulated a friend who lives in Palm Springs recently on its approval of pro-immigrant policies, he replied, "Thanks, it's too bad you live in the racist part of the valley." I certainly think I do not live in the, quote, racist part of the valley. My neighbors all over Magnesia Falls Drive are diverse, decent citizens who, like me, have expressed support for pro-immigrant principles. I hope you and our city government do too. America is, after all, the nation of immigrants. May we live up to that noble challenge. Sincerely, Richard A. Loftus, MD. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Are there any other people who would like to speak on non-agenda items that did not fill out a card? All right, seeing none, we will move on to city councilman board member comments. And I'll start with Mr. Mayor Pro Tem Richard Kite.
Thank you, Mayor. The city is winding down its current recruitment on volunteers to serve on the various boards and commissions. These are advisory bodies to the City Council, and their primary role is to increase public input and participation. Detailed information in an application form can be obtained by visiting the city clerk's office, or you can go on the website, which is www.ranchomirage.ca.gov, or you can call at 760-324-4511. The City Council welcomes and appreciates the participation of our residents. If you're interested in serving the community on one of these 12 boards or commissions, please submit an application to the City Clerk's office no later than May 12th. This is a way for all of you to get involved in the operation of the city. There are 12 commissions. I'm sure if you're interested in joining one of these commissions, you'll find a wide choice that you can pick from. You just have to make sure that you get your application back in by May 10th. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Richard. Iris.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I have a video of a few PowerPoints of an event that took place just recently, and it's the City's Emergency Preparedness Commission recently partnered with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also known as FEMA, to sponsor an event called Quake Smart. It's a community resilience workshop for businesses and organizations at the Rancho Mirage Library. And the majority of businesses without a continuity plan that are impacted by an earthquake or a disaster never really recover and end up closing their doors permanently. In fact, 75% of all businesses that have a great deal of damage will close their doors temporarily, but then never reopen them. So this workshop helped businesses understand the importance of having a continuity plan and to prepare for an earthquake or other disaster. The workshop, which was actually the first of its kind in the Coachella Valley, was very well attended. You can see what a great workshop it was, and it was another success for the city's Emergency Preparedness Commission. And the city is currently, as Richard mentioned, recruiting residents who might be interested in serving on the commission, taking care of emergency preparedness. The city is looking for residents who might be interested in some of the following items. Number one, exhibit an interest in emergency preparedness. Some people who might be interested in their own community and the preparedness of their residents and neighbors. People who may have taken a CERT training class or who are willing to take a class which is given by the City of Rancho Mirage, and it is free of charge to our residents. People who are already active or would like to get active in their neighborhood, and people who would like to speak publicly, attending different HOA meetings when they would like to have a speaker that makes them aware of emergency preparedness and the measures that they could take to protect themselves and their neighborhood. And if you are interested in serving on this commission, please feel free to contact City Hall. The number is 760-324-4511. It's 324-4511. This is the time to apply. Some of the things that people forget about as far as emergencies are floods, fires, now cyber terrorism, large power outages, and chemical spills, which have occurred actually on the rail systems and on our freeways. So these are things that we need to take precautionary measures to make sure that we are equipped. There was a takeaway actually for the attendees at this event, the Quake Smart, because so many businesses have a problem reopening. Mainly the reason is because their employees are not well enough prepared at home. So we encourage them to encourage their employees to go home, try to get as prepared as possible, make their families as prepared as possible, and if an event does take place and their home is severely damaged and they can possibly put things back in order easily, then take their children, take their pets, and try to go back to business. These businesses are very important that they open in our cities when people have damage and are looking for supplies. They are really thrilled when they drive by their favorite stores and find that these stores are open and willing and ready to be able to equip them with new supplies. So if you aren't prepared yourself, please take the opportunity to get prepared. There's a number of things you can do, and we speak about it often. It's make sure you have the first aid kits that are available. Either put them together yourself or buy one already prepared. Make sure you have a battery-operated or wind-up radio, clock, and cell phone, and those you can get for about $20 at your neighborhood hardware stores. Make sure you have enough bottled water, which requires about 1 gallon per person per day. Make sure you have a manual can opener so that when you do need to open some of your cans for supplies and food, you will be ready. And also, If you don't have solar lights, you may want to think about getting some, put them in your backyard, and if you have a power outage, you can always bring those solar lights into your home, and at least you'll have lighting for overnight, and then you can take them outside, recharge them in the sun, and at least you'll have a little bit of electricity in your home for lighting. So remember to keep your trees trimmed so big trees don't fall on power lines. And if you haven't already taken the CERT training class, keep an eye out for it when it's given to our residents and try to sign up for that. I know you'll find it worthwhile, and be the first responder in your neighborhood. It is a gratifying experience, and your neighbors can really depend on you. But before I finish everything, I wanted to call up Marcia Stein, who is an incredible member of our Emergency Preparedness Commission. In fact, she is the chairperson, and she has worked very hard for about 6 years to make this the best commission ever. Thank you, Marcia, for coming.
Thank you. Wonderful presentation. Mayor Townsend, City Council, it's good to be here. I just wanted to add something. I went to Cucamonga for this training a couple of years ago, and they had 80 people show up, and they pulled from 850,000. Kudos to us, because we drew from 350,000 and we had 88. So we were thrilled to have that kind of turnout. The fact that we are sitting on top of the epicenter that they're talking about for this major event, people do need to be prepared. So thank you for everything you've said, Iris. We have a wonderful commission. We not only deal with earthquakes, as you know, but we deal with cyber terrorism. And unfortunately, since I started this 6 years ago, we now get to talk about shooters and intruders, and kind of a crazy world we're living in. But we're up to the challenge. We really are educating people about all of these things. So thank you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia.
That is an extensive program, Iris. We really should be very proud, Rancho Mirage, to have that extensive and available to everybody. Thank you. Ted?
I don't have any comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, we now will move to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 20th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any corrections to the minutes? Anything none, and we moved and we corrected and we're set to go.
Christie?
Christie?
Councilmember
please.
Smotrich, have you entered your vote? Thank you. Mr. Mayor, motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. Next, we're moving on to the consent calendar. City Manager Randy Binder, would you please introduce the items?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, good afternoon. You have 5 items on your consent calendar today. Item number 1 is the quarterly treasurer's report. This is a receive and file item. The city's policy, as you know, is to achieve a market rate of return on the city's public funds while minimizing risk and preserving city's capital. The total returns for the city are compared to the B of A Merrill Lynch 1 to 5 year U.S. Treasury Index. And this past quarter, the city earned 1.24% on its investments and generated $321,000 in interest earnings. Thank you to the Budget Subcommittee, Mayor Pro Tem Kite, and Councilperson Hobart, and my esteemed Director of Administrative Services, Isaiah Hagerman. Nice work, you guys. Item number 2 on your consent calendar is award of contract for the Dinosaur Drive Median Island improvements. We are putting in what planners call aesthetically pleasing inorganic ground cover.
Rock.
Yes.
Which is
Which
DG
means-
and boulders and cobblestones and interlocking pavers for you non-city planner types. It's a half a mile long in Dinosaur Drive between Plumley Road and Duval. And it's been a long time coming, and it's beautifully designed. You're going to love it. If the City Council approves it today, the project will start in June and be completed by early August. And the street will remain open the whole time. The fast lanes on either side will be closed at certain times for the trucks and materials to get in and out.
So I guess there's no grass?
There's no grass.
Very good.
No grass. Item number 3, Mr. Mayor, on your consent calendar is final acceptance of the Bob Hope Drive, Frank Sinatra Drive intersection improvements. This is City Project 12-270-1. For all of us that have driven through the intersection of Bob Hope and Frank Sinatra over the past year, a lot of improvements have been completed there. The general plan calls for something called a supercritical intersection, which is 2 through lanes and dual rights in all directions, and a free right turn. Is that what that's called? A permissive right turn. So the intersection has been improved and expanded in capacity. The project came in under budget at $2.2 million overall, and the work is completed, and we're asking that the council approve final acceptance of this project for the city. Item number 4, Mr. Mayor, on your consent calendar is approval of contracts. There is one contract on your agenda today for the dog park maintenance. It's a $39,000 contract with a company called Urban Habitat Environmental Landscape, the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. And the dog park, as we all know, is very heavily used, and it's brand new. And Mr. Sambito did a great job in acquiring a company here that will maintain it in the first-class condition that we expect. Good. And his staff will make sure of that. Item number 5 on your consent calendar are demands, and we are here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Do any council members have any questions of staff?
Mr. Mayor, I have a comment on item number 2, which is the award of the Dinah Shore median improvements. I just want to make note that Sandra Johnson went with many meetings with me to the homeowners group, and we got this finally approved to their likings and to our likings, and she did a great job in meeting with the people. And so special accommodation to Sandra for all the work she did on that. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you, Sandra. I hope it comes out looking nice for your sake.
I'm sure it will.
Otherwise, Richard, thank you for your effort as well.
If it turned
Mr.
out
Mayor,
nice,
yeah.
it's my idea. If it didn't, it's hers.
Are there any other comments or questions from the council? Okay. Seeing none, are there any members of the public who wish to speak regarding any of the consent items? Seeing none, I will call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And this time I will vote.
Excuse me. Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Here we go. We will now move to reports and information items. Number 6 is the CV Link update. Do we have anybody who would like to speak on that on the council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll cover that. At the Executive Committee meeting on April 24th, Councilman Hobart made a motion to investigate the reasons behind the mistake that was made by CVAG on the application they submitted to the state of California for a grant under the heading of active transportation. Due to the nature of the errors that included incorrect census tracts and the omission of both Rancho Mirage and Indian Wells constituting a gap in the trail, the score was lowered and the potential award of $24 million was readjusted. Councilman Hobart felt the magnitude of these errors justified an inquiry as to whether these mistakes were in fact innocent or intentional. His motion was amended, and as you would expect, there was no support by the Executive Committee to investigate the matter. During the public comment portion of the meeting, Councilman Ty Peabody from Indian Wells expressed his frustration at the lack of financial planning and management oversight at CVAG. He distributed to members of the Executive Committee extensive written material that supported his position and was highly critical of Tom Kirk, the executive director. I would like to commend Mayor Moon of Palm Springs in suggesting that the residents of Palm Springs have a voice in determining the propriety of the CV link in the form of a ballot measure and join the cities of Rancho Mirage and Indian Wells. He has read the numerous letters to the editor in the Desert Sun and wrote a very compelling Valley Voice column. The excuse promulgated by the elected is empty rhetoric. They say they were elected to the city council by their constituents to make decisions on their behalf, but they were not elected to make financial decisions that would have a major financial impact for 75 years. That is where the residents and their future heirs deserve to control their financial destiny. CVAG has given no support to a ballot measure for any city for fear the residents will reject this ill-conceived 20 to 30-foot roadway disguised as a bucolic bicycling and walking trail. There are virtually letters daily asking for a ballot measure, yet these city councils refuse to follow the democratic principle of representation. Some cities have recently enacted an increase in the sales tax and TOT, transient occupancy tax, in order to cover the increased costs due to law enforcement and fire. What happens when it comes time to pay an unknown amount for operations and maintenance of the CV link? Are these cities and others going to ask their residents for another increase? How many cities presently have a line item in their budget labeled CV Link O&M? Without knowing, I would be willing to bet none. I commend Mayor Moon and Councilman Peabody for speaking out about CVAG's inadequacies and joining the cities of Rancho Mirage and Indian Wells in giving their residents an opportunity to vote on this $100 million roadway with an unknown amount of O&M far into the future. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ted. Are there any further comments from council on the subject?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
just a brief comment. The draft environmental impact report for CV Link will be presented at the CVAG meeting on Monday, May 15th at 6 p.m. So the meeting will be held at the Palm Desert City Council chambers, and that's at 73510 Fred Waring Drive. Again, that's a week from Monday, May 15th. I invite you all to come out and hear your neighbors' comments on CV Link and make a few comments on your own. And this will be a lengthy meeting, so be prepared for a lot of people there that will be putting their views forth, and hopefully we can have some impact on the future of CV Link. So that again is May 15th. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Are there any comments on the public on the CV Link item that would wish to speak?
A quick comment. So I was at the meeting and read the newspaper article that followed up after that, and I didn't appreciate how Councilman Hobart was essentially threatened by a friend of Tom Kirk. Tom Kirk is not elected by the public. He's basically hired by the members of CVAG, which are the council members in various agencies that pay him to do a job. And we're at the point now where his friend, if you criticize Tom Kirk, it's not a matter of criticizing CVAG, or I'm sorry, if CV Link or not. It's a matter of now it's about Tom Kirk. To me, it seems like it's about Tom Kirk. And if you say anything about Tom Kirk, then our elected representative in the city of Rancho Mirage is threatened with being, removed or challenged, and I don't appreciate it. And no one mentioned that. And I think you probably tried to be very, polite and proper, and I understand that. But I think somebody should say something that we, as the residents of Rancho Mirage, we have a democratic system. We vote for you, and the election's done, and I don't appreciate people coming here threatening anyone that I voted for. They don't live here. Tom Kirk or his friend, they don't live in Rancho Mirage. Tom Kirk's not elected by us. So I just think that needs to be noted.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington. Anyone else wish to speak on the CV Link subject?
I just want to say I was at that meeting, and you can be very proud of Council Member Hobart. He did a really good job. It was very pressuring. But I want to add, there was a couple there that was asking for money to help the homeless. They had a whole plan. I don't know what organization they were with or anything, but they said they can house 300 homeless people on their program. They've been up and down the coast, and it will cost them $1.5 million. And they said, why should we have this link when we could do something better with the money? Thank you to Mr. Hobart.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, we will close that section and we'll move on to public hearings. Mr. Randy Binder, please tell us about item number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll turn this over to Isaiah Hagerman. Isaiah?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. The item before you today is a public hearing to help Eisenhower Medical Center issue tax-exempt bonds. This is what is referred to as a TEFRA hearing. That stands for Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act of 1982. So in order for Eisenhower Medical Center to issue tax-exempt bonds, the City of Rancho Mirage is required under that act to hold a public meeting to provide members of the community an opportunity to speak to this item. The advantage of Eisenhower Medical Center issuing tax-exempt debt is it lowers their costs of debt, which saves them money. This action before you today is just a simple refunding of existing debt, so there will be no new money issued in this deal. It's just simply lowering the interest rate, which will also save Eisenhower Medical Center additional funds in their budget. The bonds to be issued by Eisenhower Medical Center are the sole responsibility of Eisenhower, and the City of Rancho Mirage will have no financial, legal, moral obligation, liability, or responsibility for the bonds in any manner. Outside of conducting the public hearing and adopting the attached resolution, there is no further involvement on behalf of the City of Rancho Mirage, and this is really just a technical hurdle that's laid out within the law to allow Eisenhower to proceed. So again, there is absolutely no fiscal impact to the City of Rancho Mirage. These are Eisenhower bonds and it has no liability or any obligation on behalf of Rancho Mirage to repay this debt. It's solely on Eisenhower Medical Center. So staff is recommending that we conduct the public hearing and that the City Council approves the attached resolution. I would be happy to answer any questions. I also know that I see the CFO from Eisenhower here as well if you guys have any questions.
Thank you, Isaiah. Are there any questions of staff to Isaiah? All right, seeing none. Now I will open it to public hearing. Any members of the public wish to speak regarding this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And do any council members have any comments any further? None? Okay. I will call for a motion.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion that the City Council adopt and approve Resolution Number 2017 next in order, approving the issuance of revenue-reducing bonds by the authority for the purpose of refinancing the acquisition, construction, and improvement of certain facilities for the benefit of Eisenhower Medical Center.
Second.
Thank you. We have a second, and we will now vote, please.
Mr. Mayor, motion passes 4-0.
Thank you, Christy. We will now move into closed session and recess. Mr. Quintanilla, will you please introduce the closed session?
Yes, I will,
item?
Mr. Mayor. The City Council at this point is now going to recess into closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 to consider two potential initiation of litigation items and the following two, in the existing case known as Veronica Juarez versus City of Rancho Mirage, and another pending case, the disclosure of the case name is being withheld because it would jeopardize existing settlement negotiations. And that's it.
Thank you,
So
Steve.
I'll meet you guys in closed session.
We are now recessed. Thank you.